This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Now, Iran's president says he's vindicated.
Yes, Ahmadinejad is claiming a moral victory after a US spy agency report said Iran stopped its nuclear weapons program 4 years ago.
And despite US intentions to press on with more sanctions against Iran, Ahmadinejad had a friendly offer for Washington.
Although on the surface this report has been designed to help solve US problems as they have reached a dead end, but in reality it is an announcement of victory for Iran against all world powers. We are ready to talk, but you should first make it clear if you intend to negotiate as a friend or an enemy. If you are planning to talk to the Iranian nation from the position of hostility, you should know that we will stand against you and will defeat you at every stage. But if you approach Iran from an honest, friendly position, you will find the Iranian nation a good friend.
Well, there's been a reaction from the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency. The head of the nuclear watchdog, Mohammed al-Baradei, has restated his long-standing belief that Iran is not an imminent threat and said there is now a new opportunity for dialogue with Tehran.
It is consistent with what the agency and I have been saying for a number of years, that while we still have some important questions about the Iran past activities, about Iran current program, we have not seen any undeclared ongoing weapon program. We have not seen any undeclared nuclear material that could be used in weapons, and that's why I have been saying that while Iran still need to continue to work with us with maximum cooperation, with full transparency, I did not see Iran as to be an imminent threat that should divert us from the negotiation process.
A little earlier I spoke to Manzar Sleiman, a national security expert and bureau chief of the Arab magazine Al-Mustaqbal Al-Arabi. He says Iran should take this as an opportunity to get the Middle East region more involved.
I don't think they should start celebrating, because it comes with responsibility, the new development of intelligence assessment, to send more signals that they're willing to go with the regional approach. I think from the beginning, the problem with the approach of the Iranian nuclear file is that the United States did not encourage creating a regional format similar to the North Korean format, because after all, the countries in the region, whether in the Gulf or in the region, are the ones who are more interested in this, and they're going to be affected by any kind of program Iran may have. So I think they should extend their hand more to the regional forces and try to create an strategic Arab-Iranian dialogue, and maybe at some point have a three-way dialogue with Turkey about creating a weapon of mass destruction free zone in the region, and then that will enter IAEA and enter the United Nations, which has a standing resolution about Iraq that calls for a weapon of mass destruction free zone in the region.
This sort of olive branch which Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is extending, saying, hey, let's talk as friends, will the US react in any way to that, do you think?
I think the United States is going to continue to pressure its allies in the region and internationally to continue the path of putting more diplomatic, economic pressure on isolation on Iran, and saying that, as the President Bush declared, that they could renew that secret program, so-called secret program, anytime for military purposes. So they're not going to like it. But I think the situation, I see it is slipping away from the hands of President Bush and the United States. And this will encourage China, Russia, and others to start to think seriously about alternatives approaches. And then maybe the United States at the end may agree to certain rapprochement or kind of creating a venue different than the venue, European venue plus United States, a venue that the region has more presence in it.
The U.S. intelligence report on Iran has caused panic in the White House, where some called for diplomacy and others for pressure. Meanwhile, the man in the White House wants to continue beating the drums of war. Amidst this American panic, Ahmadinejad declared a victory for his country against the international community. Ismat Tarabi reports.
The drums of war have not stopped beating on the American front, but they have stopped echoing on the rival front. The U.S. intelligence report, which lowered the bar of Iranian threats, has given Tehran momentum and victory, to say the least.
The U.S. intelligence report indicates frankly that we are moving in the right direction and that we are fulfilling our responsibilities toward our people. This report will help bring the U.S. government out of the trap. This report is announcing a victory for the Iranian nation in the nuclear issue against all international powers.
Iran believes that the report has undercut the U.S. justification for carrying out a military strike against Tehran. In addition, it undermined the credibility of the White House's warnings against Iran. This news comes despite the announcement by Bush that Iran still poses a nuclear threat.
Bush's comments are not new. The important thing is that an official American institution confirmed that Iran is not engaging in any military nuclear activities.
Despite the report, Washington is seeking to impose a third package of sanctions against Iran, a decision that Russia and China are likely to oppose. In fact, Russia and China may adopt a new assessment of the situation in light of the U.S. report, and they may indeed ask for easing the pressure on Iran.
Meanwhile, the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, confirmed that his country doesn't have information indicating that Iran had a military nuclear program prior to 2003, which contradicts the U.S. intelligence report.
Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad says a report issued by the U.S. National Intelligence Estimates (NIE) proves the legitimacy of Iran and is a victory for the Iranian nation. The president told a large group of local people in the western city of Ilam the enemies should be well aware that the Iranian nation has chosen its path and will never give up even one iota. President Ahmadinejad added in its nuclear standoff, the Iranian nation realized that any withdrawal in political field would lead to depriving the nation of its legitimate rights. He further said Iran is ready for talks that should be, quote, honest and cooperative on the nuclear program. President Ahmadinejad said, quote, we advise the ill-wishers to take lessons from the past and try to be friend of the Iranian nation. President Ahmadinejad began his third provincial tour to Ilam province this morning. The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mohammad El-Baradei, says a high-ranking IAEA delegation will arrive in Iran next week to hold more talks with Iranian officials. Speaking at a press conference in Brazil, the IAEA chief also called on the parties involved in Iran's nuclear issue to take the opportunity offered by the report of the National Intelligence Estimate on Iran's nuclear program to peacefully settle the issue.
I obviously have been very pleased to read that assessment because it is consistent with what the agency and I have been saying for a number of years. We have not seen any undeclared ongoing weapon program. We have not seen any undeclared nuclear material that could be used in weapons. I see, frankly, this report as a window of opportunity. It's a window of opportunity because it gives diplomacy a renewed chance. It's good news. It gives a sigh of relief to the international community. It removes the sense of urgency and that some people have been talking about.
Still on Iran's nuclear issue, Russia has joined China in suggesting that a new U.S. intelligence report on Iran's nuclear program obviates the need for further UN sanctions. RIA Novosti news agency quoted Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov saying, "We will judge the situation around the idea of a new UN Security Council resolution on the basis of all factors, including public confirmation of the U.S. information." Lavrov also rejected the U.S. intelligence report's claim that Iran once had a military atomic project, saying, quote, "We have no information that such a project existed before 2003. Following the release of a report by the U.S. National Intelligence Estimate on Monday, which confirmed peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear activities, the European Parliament is urging the international community to take the ample opportunity to settle the issue through diplomatic talks. This is what Chair of the European Parliament Delegation for Relations with Iran, Angelika Beer, had to tell our reporter in Brussels on the story.
I think this report now is a chance for all sides to calm down the tension, to sit on one table, to speak about the problems. And the next step should be, and I hope the European Union will ask for that, to withdraw the case Iran from the UN Security Council back to the EIA, and then to have talks without preconditions. And that means we will find a peaceful solution. The rights from the Iranian side will be solved also.
Iran's Foreign Minister Munashahir Muttaqi said that his country's nuclear program has become a normal issue, just like any other program. This news comes after a U.S. intelligence report confirmed that the Iranian nuclear program is indeed civilian. However, the U.S. President George Bush contradicted the intelligence report and said defiantly that the Iranian nuclear program is still a threat.
In a credible report, 16 U.S. intelligence agencies confirmed that the allegations made by the U.S. administration and its leader, Bush, against Iran are false. Many believed that the U.S. allegations against Iran nearly prompted a World War III. According to the report, Iran doesn't possess nuclear weapons and suspended what it described as sensitive activities in 2003. This news has stirred broad mixed reactions. Tehran said that the U.S. report sends a message to the Europeans that they must reconsider their policies, which Iran described as unpractical.
After reading this report, all the countries that had inquiries and questions about the Iranian nuclear program must correct their positions. This report has indeed clarified the ambiguity surrounding the Iranian nuclear issue. Our program has become like other nuclear programs, and we will continue our activities under the monitoring of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Meanwhile, in Vienna, the head of the IAEA, Mohammed al-Baradi, who repeatedly confirmed that no evidence was found against Iran, said that the report should help ease the crisis in the region. In addition, another IAEA official said that the report comes to enhance the agency's assessment that Iran doesn't present an imminent threat. However, the report came as a shock to the U.S. administration. This news comes as the U.S. President George W. Bush reiterated his warning against what he described as the Iranian nuclear threat.
I think it is very important for the international community to recognize the fact that if Iran were to develop the knowledge that they could transfer it to a clandestine program, it would create a danger for the world. And so I view this report as a warning signal that they had the program, they halted the program. The reason why it's a warning signal is they could restart it.
European countries, including Britain, said that the surprising report by the U.S. intelligence agencies requires careful examination. France and Germany, however, said the report does not necessarily mean that the international pressure on Iran should end. China called on the U.S. Secretary of State and the European Union to provide more information. Everyone was questioning the timing of the report. Some believe that the aim was to weaken the American administration, especially after the series of resignations and after it had given up the military option as a way to improve its domestic image. Others, however, believe that the objective was to improve the U.S. image abroad after it has been trapped in the quagmires of Iraq and Afghanistan. Others said the objective is to justify holding direct negotiations with Iran. Finally, in the worst-case scenarios, some said that the objective of the report is to justify increasing international pressure on Iran by showing that it responds to pressure, as it did in 2003, when it halted its nuclear program after its nuclear file was transferred to the UN Security Council.
Al-Arabiya cameras followed one of the Arab translators working with the U.S. forces and who does not wear a mask or have special guards. Details with Majid Hamid.
Believe it or not, this man is a translator who works with U.S. forces in Iraq. He is a Jordanian who worked in the most violent battlefields, Fallujah and Heat. We don't need to comment on the improved and stable security in the city of Heat, where the man goes to the city's markets alone to shop.
I worked in Fallujah before I came to the Heat region. It was difficult here, but thank God there are no more difficulties now. There are no mentionable security threats at all.
Yaqub al-Guwari, also known as Abu Ahmed, is from Jordan, specifically the city of Zarqa, which is the birthplace of the leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, who was killed. Abu Ahmed has left behind a large family of 3 wives and 8 children. Abu Ahmed has said that he hopes to serve the Iraqis because some translators do not know the English language, which causes wrong translations that may lead to sending some Iraqis to dark jail cells for many years. He told Al Arabiya about another situation.
Another weakness with a translator may be that he wants to be the person with power and to intervene in matters. This is a small percentage of translators. Most translators are professional and trustworthy.
There are also advantages and disadvantages to the profession, which can make you laugh and cry at the same time. Abu Ahmed told us about one of them.
For example, an American said to the translator, "Ask him who he has inside his house." So the guy said, "There is only me, my family, and the Italians." So the translator thought that there were Italian hostages in the house because he is not familiar with the Iraqi dialect as a translator. So the Marines went into a state of alert and raided the entire house. Then they asked, "Where are the Italian hostages?" So the guy in the house pointed to the Italians, which were a bunch of lambs, which are called Italians in the Iraqi dialect.
If you are not part of his family, you will never know that Abu Ahmed is a translator who works with the Americans, considering that he goes around the markets and goes to the mosques to pray. It is as if he has formed a relationship with them, indicating the kindness of the residents of the city and all Iraqis. From the city of Heat in western Iraq, Majid Hamid, Al Arabiya.
The Washington Post has reported that Deputy Prime Minister of the Kurdistan Regional Government, KRG, Omar Fatah Hussein, was in Washington, heading a delegation that included the Minister of Natural Resources in the region, Ishti Abdallah Hurami. According to the newspaper, Hussein urged U.S. oil companies to invest in the production of oil in the Kurdistan region. Last month, Iraq's oil minister, Hussein al-Shahrastani, said that all contracts signed without the knowledge of the federal government are illegal. Al-Shahrastani also warned international oil companies from signing oil contracts that bypass the federal government, in a clear reference to deals signed by the KRG with a number of foreign firms.
Amidst intense showdown among the various Iraqi political blocs, parliament member and a representative of the Iraqi Alliance Front, Saad al-Barzanchi, strongly criticized Iraq Oil Minister Hussein al-Shahrastani over remarks he made regarding the recent oil contract signed by the KRG. Al-Barzanchi described the oil minister's statement as irresponsible and unpatriotic. He added that the oil contracts signed by the KRG don't bypass Iraq's federal oil laws and they are within the constitutional privileges of the region.
These contracts were signed in accordance with the Iraqi Constitution. According to Article 115 of the Iraqi Constitution, all powers not stipulated as the exclusive authority of the federal government shall be the powers of the regions and governorates. By the same token, when examining Article 110 of the Iraqi Constitution, which outlines the stipulated powers of the federal government, we find no reference was made to oil and natural gas. In addition, paragraph 1 of Article 112 of the Iraqi Constitution reads, "The federal government, along with the regional and provincial governments, shall administer and oversee oil and natural gas production in the current oil fields." The Constitution made no reference to future oil fields. I was a member of the committee that wrote the Iraqi Constitution. The current fields mentioned in the Constitution refer to those oil fields that were present at the time the draft Constitution was written. However, future oil fields are subject to Article 115 of the Constitution, which gives the authority to the regions and governorates.
In a press conference, the Vice Speaker of the Iraqi Parliament, Arif Tayyur, criticized the Iraqi oil minister Hussein al-Shahristani. Tayfur said that the oil minister should exert efforts to stop the smuggling of oil and its sale in the black market. In justifying the oil contracts signed by the KRG, Tayfur said that the Kurds signed them because the oil was found in the region. Tayfur's comments don't only undermine Iraq's oil laws, but also contradict his position as the Vice Speaker of the Iraqi Parliament.
In Lebanon, our Al Arabiya correspondent reports that a security breach has taken place in the Ain al-Halwa camp, a Palestinian refugee camp near the city of Sidon on the southern coast. One of those involved was Shahd Jawhar, an official for the Jund al-Sham organization who was responsible for one of the training centers for the Al-Qaeda organization in Iraq in 2005. Also involved was a Fatah movement activist. To provide more details and information, we have with us from Ain al-Halwa, General Munir Maqdah, one of the leaders of the Fatah movement in Lebanon. Is this information that Shahd Jawhar was wounded during these clashes correct?
Of course, this is an isolated clash between two people, Shahd Jawhar and an individual from the Fatah movement. No one was wounded. It was contained quickly. A committee was formed in order to take measures to find out who fired gunshots or threatened security inside the camp. They will be handed over to special security agencies.
So you deny that Shahd Jawhar was wounded?
No one was wounded. A young girl was very slightly wounded.
This incident, was it isolated or personal, or does it have political implications or indicate political differences?
It is an isolated clash. To begin with, there is no longer a Jund al-Sham organization in Ain al-Halwa. This organization has been defunct for a long time. The organization dissolved itself. The problem was a personal one between two individuals. It was dealt with quickly. A monitoring committee has been formed to investigate both sides. The measures required by the investigative committee will be taken quickly.
These measures will be from among the Palestinian factions, or will there be a role in this for the Lebanese state, for example, the Lebanese army?
The investigation will be done internally by the monitoring committee. Then it will be handed over to the Armed Struggle Institution and then to the Lebanese state.
Thank you. With us from Ain al-Halwa was General Munir Maqdah, one of the leaders of the Fatah movement in Lebanon. Our colleague Rima Salha met with Shahd Jawhar, who was responsible for Al-Qaeda military training centers in the Haditha region in Iraq. Her full interview will be shown on Manufacturing Death next Friday, 1900 Greenwich Standard Time.
What do you do in Ain al-Halwa? What do you do for work?
I work in trade, arms trade.
You work as an arms trader?
Yes. Is it illegal? Is anything wrong with it?
Inside Ain al-Halwa camp or outside of it?
People from the outside come and buy weapons. People from the outside also come to sell weapons. That's it.
They come from Lebanon or outside Lebanon?
No, they're from Lebanon, not from Turkey.
So from Lebanon, from Palestinian refugee camps?
No, from here, Sidon and Beirut, Lebanon. Most of those who are coming to purchase are Lebanese, not Palestinian.
Who is supplying the weapons?
The camp is filled with weapons, and arms traders come from abroad. They also come with permission from this country to bring in their weapons.
For the 11th consecutive day, Israeli fighters and tanks continue launching rockets and shells in Gaza. Today's raids have added 3 new martyrs to the list of martyrs killed in the past few days in the Gaza Strip. Israeli tanks targeted today the area of Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip, killing 8 Palestinians, including 3 activists from the Ezdin Qassam brigades, the military wing of Hamas, and injuring 5 others, including 1 sustaining serious injuries. The victims were transported to Jamal Adwan Hospital in the northern Gaza Strip. The death toll from the Israeli bombardment has reached 30, including 3 killed in a military base belonging to Hamas in the southern Gaza Strip. While Israel hinted that it will carry out a wide-scale offensive in the Gaza Strip, Hamas called for revenge and said what is taking place in Gaza is indeed an implementation of the Annapolis Conference. Zuhair Sakala reports from Gaza.
These images are rather familiar to the streets of Gaza, where funeral processions, protests, and calls for revenge are dominating Palestinian daily life. This news comes as Israel continues to target members of the Ezdin Qassam brigades, the military wing of Hamas. The occupation forces have assassinated several Qassam members in the past few days. The latest round of assassinations took place in the city of Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza Strip.
Through these criminal assaults, it's obvious that the upcoming stage will witness a security and military escalation aimed at rooting out the resistance and eradicating the Hamas movement. In addition, Israel wants to bring down Hamas as the leading authority in Gaza. This news has been confirmed by the Israeli occupation on several occasions.
During its last meeting, the Israeli government adopted a decision calling for a military escalation in Gaza. In addition, Israel continues to suspend humanitarian supplies, including food, medicine, and electricity, to the Gaza Strip. Moreover, Israel has suspended fuel supplies to Gaza, where reserves are running very low.
Israel has always adopted an aggressive policy towards the Palestinian people and their plight. Israel's policy includes premeditated plans to carry out assaults on the resistance in the Gaza Strip. This proves that Israel doesn't care about its agreements with the Palestinians, including the Annapolis Conference.
During the day, the residents of Gaza go out looking for a better life. However, during the night, they try to unwind in between simultaneous Israeli raids, which have not ended in the Gaza Strip during the past few days. Meanwhile, Israel continues hinting that it will expand its military assault on the Gaza Strip. It seems that Israel doesn't care about the fragility of the current stage, which has become known as the After Annapolis Conference stage.
A White House spokesman announced that the U.S. President George W. Bush is planning to visit the Middle East next January. The White House declined to give details about the countries that Bush is intending to visit. It also declined to confirm reports that Israel will be Bush's first stop during his Middle East tour.
What are you giving this holiday season? Is it this? Or this? Or maybe this? This year, why not make a change? And give your friends and family the world. Now it's easy and meaningful to give the gift of Link TV. Just go to linktv.org or call 1-866-485-8848 to honor those you care about with a tax-deductible gift in their name to Link TV. Choose from one of 3 designs and have a personalized holiday card sent to everyone on your list. Letting your loved ones know you've made them official sponsors of Television Without Borders. This holiday season, remember peace on Earth is possible when we see the world without borders. Happy holidays from Link TV. And don't forget, send your card today.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.